The discovery and decision. The steady hum of the Horizon's engines was the only sound on the bridge as Commander Elena Shaw studied the sensor readings for the third time. The patrol ship cruised silently through the outer reaches of human territory, its mission to monitor the borders of what humanity now called home among the stars. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual," Lieutenant Kaido Nakamura said, his fingers dancing across the communication console. "It's faint, but definitely artificial." Shaw looked up from her datapad. In 15 years with the Terran Defense Force, she'd encountered only 2 other spacefaring species, both primitive compared to humanity's technological achievements since the Great Unification. "Source?" she asked, moving to Nakamura's station. "Unknown, ma'am. It's coming from the Epsilon sector, well beyond our mapped space." Shaw's executive officer, Commander David Reynolds, joined them, his face betraying concern. "Epsilon sector? Nothing out there but dead worlds and radiation belts." "Put it through," Shaw ordered. The message crackled through the ship's speakers, fragmented but clear enough to understand. The voice was distinctly non-human, yet the words were unmistakably English. "To any civilization who can hear us, we are the Arcosians. Our worlds burn. Our people die. The swarm comes without mercy. They consume everything. We have observed your signals. We know of your strength. Please, if anyone hears this, help us." Silence fell across the bridge. Shaw felt a chill run down her spine. "How do they know our language?" Reynolds asked. Lieutenant Nakamura studied his readings. "The message contains data packets. They've been monitoring our transmissions for years." "Can we locate the source?" Shaw asked. "Approximately 22 light-years beyond our furthest outpost, Commander. Signals degrading rapidly." Shaw straightened her uniform. "Send a response. Tell them we've received their message and will relay it to Earth Command." As Nakamura crafted the response, Shaw opened a secure channel to Admiral Helena Reyes at TDF headquarters. Within minutes, the Admiral's stern face appeared on her private screen. "This better be important, Commander. It's 300 hours in Geneva. Ma'am, we've received a distress call from an unknown species called the Arcosians. They're under attack by something they call the Swarm. They're specifically requesting our help." Reyes's expression changed from annoyance to concern. "Send me everything. I'll convene the Coalition Council immediately. Maintain your position and continue monitoring for further transmissions." 3 days later, the Horizon's sensors detected multiple vessels dropping out of FTL travel nearby. 5 Terran Defense Force ships, including the flagship Intrepid, appeared on their scanners. Admiral Rice's face appeared on the main view screen, looking like she hadn't slept since their last conversation. "Commander Shaw, your patrol ship is being temporarily reassigned. We've detected additional transmissions from the Arcosians and intercepted communications from this swarm entity." Shaw felt her pulse quicken. "The Coalition authorized military intervention for an alien species we've never met." Reyes nodded grimly. "What we've learned about the swarm has alarmed us greatly. They've apparently consumed dozens of civilizations. The Arcosians may be next, and we could be after that. You're to join our task force immediately. We're proceeding to the coordinates of the distress call." The Coalition Council chamber buzzed with tense conversations as representatives from Earth's 23 colonies gathered in emergency session. Massive holographic displays dominated the center of the circular room, showing the fragmented distress messages from the Arcosians alongside intercepted swarm communications. Admiral Reyes stood at the podium, her silver-streaked hair pulled back tightly, and her uniform crisp despite having been awake for nearly 72 hours. "Ladies and gentlemen of the Council," she began, her voice cutting through the noise. "What you're seeing is evidence of a hive-mind entity that has consumed or destroyed dozens of civilizations over the past century." She gestured to her aide, who switched the display to show grainy footage of massive organic-looking ships attaching themselves to a blue-green planet. Explosions bloomed across continents as cities were reduced to ash. This footage was included in the Arcosian transmission. It shows the fall of a neighboring system 4 months ago. Population estimated at 6 billion. Current survivors unknown but believed to be minimal. Counselor Thomas Jong from the Mars colony stood. Admiral, while this is tragic, how do we know this swarm poses any threat to humanity? We're talking about committing military resources to a conflict light years beyond our borders. Rise nodded. A fair question, Counselor. Our analysis of intercepted swarm communications reveals a pattern. They systematically target civilizations with specific biological resources. The Arcosians possess these resources. So do we. She switched the display again, showing a star chart with human territory clearly marked. If the swarm follows their established pattern, and if they continue their expansion in this direction after consuming the Arcosians, Earth would be within their reach within 7 years. The chamber erupted in worried murmurs. Counselor Diana Williams of the Europa colony spoke next. What exactly do the Arcosians want from us? And what do we know about them? Reyes gestured to a nervous-looking scientist standing nearby. Dr. Lena Okafor, our xenobiology expert, has been analyzing the Arcosian communications. Dr. Okafor cleared her throat. The Arcosians appear to be an avian-evolved species with a monarchical society. They've been spacefaring for approximately 500 Earth years. Their technology is advanced in some areas, particularly in biotechnology and agricultural sciences, but their military capabilities are limited. They're primarily explorers and traders, not warriors. And they're asking us to fight their war. Counselor Zhang interrupted. They're asking for help, Dr. Okafor corrected. Any help, but yes, military assistance would be most valuable to them now. Admiral Reyes took control again. We have 3 options before us. 1. We ignore the plea and focus on fortifying our borders against potential future swarm aggression. 2. We provide humanitarian aid and technological assistance to the Arcosians, but avoid direct military conflict. 3. We commit military forces to help defend the Arcosians and potentially strike back against swarm aggression. An older man rose slowly from his seat at the center of the chamber. President Marcus Alvarez, elected leader of the United Earth Coalition, rarely spoke at council sessions, preferring to let the democratic process unfold naturally. Before we vote, he said quietly, yet his voice carried throughout the chamber, I want us to remember history. How many times did civilizations on Earth fall because others stood by and watched? How many millions died because intervention came too late? He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each council member. We promised when we unified that humanity would be better among the stars than we were on Earth. This is our first real test of that promise. The vote that followed was closer than many expected. The decision to deploy Earth's military capabilities beyond human space for the first time since unification passed by a margin of just 7 votes. As the council dispersed, Admiral Reyes approached President Alvarez privately. I hope we're making the right choice, Reyes said softly. Alvarez nodded, his eyes on the images of destruction still displayed above them. If we're not willing to stand against this now, when will we ever? In the days that followed, Earth mobilized its forces with unprecedented speed. At the TDF research facility on Luna, Dr. Marcus Chen worked frantically with his team to prepare their experimental defense technology for deployment. The adaptive shield matrix was never meant to be field-tested this soon. Chen explained to Admiral Reyes as they walked through the laboratory where dozens of engineers were modifying weapon systems. But it's our best chance against the swarm's bioelectric attacks. Will it work? Reyes asked bluntly. Chen ran a hand through his disheveled hair. In theory, yes. The ASM can analyze any energy signature and create a counter-frequency in milliseconds. But we've never tested it against anything like what the Arcosians described. How long to outfit the fleet? With every manufacturing facility working around the clock. 5 days, minimum. Reyes nodded. You have 3. On the 4th day, Commander Shaw stood on the bridge of the horizon, now integrated into the Earth defense fleet of 47 warships. The largest military force humanity had ever assembled was traveling through FTL toward Arcosian space. "We're approaching the coordinates," Navigation Officer Ling reported. Dropping out of FTL in 30 seconds. Shaw took a deep breath. "All hands to battle stations. Activate the ASM as soon as we exit FTL." The stars streaked back into place as the fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. The view on the main screen made Shaw's breath catch in her throat. Before them hung a beautiful crimson planet, Arcos Prime, but its beauty was marred by destruction. 3 massive swarm vessels, organic-looking monstrosities that seemed to pulse with malevolent life, hovered in orbit, tendrils extending down to the planet's surface as they systematically drained resources from the world below. "Status report," Shaw ordered, forcing her voice to remain steady. "Planetary defenses at 18% and failing," her tactical officer replied. "Population centers are being systematically harvested. Estimated civilian casualties already in the billions." One by one, the rest of Earth's fleet emerged from FTL behind the horizon, arranging in battle formation, their newly installed adaptive shield matrices humming with power. "The swarm vessels have detected us," the sensors officer announced. "They're breaking off their harvest and turning to face us." Admiral Rice's voice came through the fleet-wide communication channel. "All ships maintain formation. Commander Shaw, as commander of our vanguard, you will attempt communication with both the Arcosians and the swarm. Remember your orders. We offer peace first, even to the swarm." Shaw nodded to her communications officer. "Open channels to both species." After a moment, 2 separate view screens appeared. On the left was an Arcosian, a tall, avian-like being with iridescent feathers, large golden eyes, and what appeared to be a ceremonial headcrest. On the right screen was only a pulsing mass of interconnected neural tissue, the swarm apparently unwilling or unable to present a humanoid appearance. "I am Commander Elena Shaw of the Earth Defense Fleet," she began. "To the people of Arcos Prime, we received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." She turned to the other screen. "To the forces of the swarm, we request that you cease hostilities immediately. We are prepared to facilitate peaceful negotiations between your collective and the Arcosian people." The Arcosian spoke, its voice melodic despite the obvious distress. "Earth has heard our call. We thank you with all hearts, but you must be careful. The swarm." The warning was cut short as the swarm finally responded, its voice a discordant chorus of countless individuals speaking as one. "New species detected. Designation: human. Your biological composition is interesting. Your interference is unwelcome. The Arcosians are necessary nutrition. You will withdraw immediately or be harvested alongside them." Shaw kept her expression neutral. "We cannot stand by while you exterminate an entire civilization. We ask again that you cease your harvest and engage in dialogue." "Dialogue is inefficient," the swarm chorus interrupted. "Consumption is necessary. You have been warned." The transmission cut abruptly. Shaw looked to her tactical officer. "Swarm vessels are powering up what appear to be bioelectric weapon systems." Shaw opened the fleet channel. "Admiral Rice, diplomacy has failed as expected. All ships activate adaptive shield matrix," Rice replied grimly. "Defensive formation Delta." Throughout the Earth fleet, crews raced to engage their untested systems. On the horizon's bridge, the lighting dimmed momentarily as power was diverted to the new technology. "ASM active and functioning," the tactical officer reported. "We're as ready as we'll ever be." Shaw tightened her grip on the armrests of her command chair as the first wave of bioelectric energy surged from the swarm vessels toward the human fleet. The battle for Arcos Prime, and possibly humanity's future, had begun. The battle and aftermath. The bioelectric pulse from the swarm vessels slammed into the Earth fleet with devastating force. Shaw was thrown against her restraints as the horizon shuddered violently. Adaptive shield matrix holding at 87%. Her tactical officer shouted above the blaring alarms. The ASM is adapting to their attack pattern. All around them, the human fleet absorbed the initial assault. Two smaller vessels on the perimeter, their shield matrices not fully calibrated, suffered heavy damage, their hulls crackling with residual bioelectric energy. Admiral Rice's voice cut through the chaos on the command channel. All ships, pattern Omega. Focus fire on the Lid Swarm vessel. The Earth fleet responded with precision, rearranging into an arrowhead formation with the flagship Intrepid at its point. Concentrated weapons fire, railguns, plasma cannons, and newly modified energy weapons converged on the largest swarm ship. The organic-looking vessel seemed to ripple as the barrage hit, but the damage appeared minimal. Tendrils of bioelectric energy lashed out in response, ensnaring two human frigates and beginning to drain their power. Their outer membrane is absorbing our conventional weapons, Dr. Chen reported from his station on the Intrepid. His voice transmitted to all fleet commanders, switching to frequency rotation protocols. Throughout the fleet, weapon systems began cycling through thousands of energy frequencies per second, searching for vulnerabilities in the swarm's biological defenses. On the horizon, Shaw watched as her tactical officer implemented the new protocol. Focus on coordinates 227 Mark 43, she ordered. That section seemed to react when hit with the higher energy spectrum. The ship's main cannons fired, the energy beam shifting colors as it cycled through frequencies. Where it struck the swarm vessel, a section of the membrane blackened and peeled away, revealing pulsating tissue beneath. "We've found a weakness," Shaw broadcast to the fleet. "They're vulnerable to the upper frequency band. All ships adjust fire patterns to match." As the Earth vessels recalibrated their weapons, the tide of battle began to shift. Precision strikes tore through the swarm ship's outer membranes, exposing vulnerable neural clusters beneath. But the swarm adapted quickly. The damaged areas began to regenerate, and the vessels changed formation, combining their bioelectric fields into a massive energy net that swept toward the human fleet. Evasive maneuvers. Admiral Rice commanded, "Break formation and regroup at coordinates Alpha 6. The Earth ships scattered, but the energy net expanded faster than anticipated. 7 vessels, including the Horizon, were caught in its web. Shaw felt the ship's systems faltering as the bioelectric field began draining their power. "ASM failing," her engineer reported. "We're losing main power. Auxiliary systems coming online." Shaw grabbed the comm. "Dr. Chen, we need options. The swarm is adapting to our frequency rotations." Chen's voice came back, distorted by interference. "Their neural network, it's learning our patterns. We need unpredictable human intuition." The transmission cut off as the energy drain intensified. Shaw made a split-second decision. "Disengage the automated targeting systems," she ordered. "Switch to manual control." Her weapons officer looked at her in shock. "Manual? Against those reaction times. The swarm is predicting our computer-generated attack patterns. They can't predict human intuition and imperfection." "Do it." As the order spread through the fleet, human gunners took direct control of their weapon systems. The resulting fire pattern became erratic, unpredictable, and devastatingly effective. The swarm vessels, accustomed to countering the mathematical precision of automated systems, couldn't adapt to the chaotic human approach. "It's working," Reynolds shouted. "Their defensive reactions are delayed." On the main view screen, Shaw saw the largest swarm vessel convulse as multiple strikes penetrated deep into its neural core. Bioelectric energy sparked wildly across its surface. Admiral Rice seized the advantage. "All ships, concentrate fire on the damaged flagship. Engineering teams, prepare EMP warheads. Let's see how their bioelectric systems handle that." Across the fleet, emergency ordnance was loaded into launch tubes, a desperate measure no one had expected to use. The modified EMP warheads detonated in sequence against the wounded swarm vessel, sending cascading failures throughout its neural network. The massive ship began to tremble, tendrils retracting as its coordinating intelligence faltered. The two remaining swarm vessels moved to protect their flagship, but the human fleet had found its rhythm now, alternating between automated precision strikes and unpredictable manual targeting. "They're retreating," called out Nakamura from his station. "The swarm vessels are pulling back from the planet." Sure enough, the damaged swarm ships were slowly withdrawing, moving away from Arcos Prime and the Earth fleet. Their movements seemed uncoordinated now, defensive rather than aggressive. But Shaw knew better than to celebrate too soon. Maintain battle readiness. This could be a tactical repositioning. Admiral Rice's voice came through, steady and controlled. "All ships hold position. Commander Shaw, try to re-establish communication with both the Arcosians and the swarm." Shaw nodded to Nakamura, who worked to open the channels. The Arcosian leader appeared first, his feathers disheveled but his eyes bright with hope. "You have done the impossible," he said, his voice trembling. "No species has ever driven the swarm back from a harvesting operation." The second screen remained dark for several moments before flickering to life. The neural mass of the swarm appeared different now, less organized, portions of it pulsing out of sync with the whole. When it spoke, the chorus of voices was discordant. "Error in assessment. Human tactical capabilities exceed parameters. Reassessment required. Withdrawal necessary." "We don't seek your destruction," Shaw said firmly. "But we will not allow you to consume sentient species. There are uninhabited worlds with abundant resources that could sustain your collective without the need for harvesting civilizations." The neural mass pulsed silently for several seconds. "Alternative. Sustenance. Explain." For the next hour, as the damaged Earth fleet maintained its defensive position around Arcos Prime, Dr. Chen and his team communicated with the swarm, explaining how they could synthesize the biochemical compounds the collective needed without consuming sentient beings. "We can help you transition to a sustainable model," Chen explained, "one that doesn't require the destruction of other species." The swarm's response was hesitant, portions of the neural mass seeming to communicate among themselves before responding. Concept: unfamiliar. Efficiency: uncertain. But alternatives to conflict: acceptable for assessment. As the diplomatic channel remained open, the Earth fleet began rescue and recovery operations on Arcos Prime. Medical ships descended to the surface, bringing aid to the billions of survivors. The damage was catastrophic. Entire continents laid waste by the swarm's harvesting, but the planet and its people had survived. 1 week later, Commander Shaw stood in the grand chamber of the Arcosian High Nest, representing Earth at the formal alliance ceremony. Admiral Rice and President Alvarez had returned to Earth to oversee the continued diplomatic efforts with the swarm, leaving Shaw to finalize the details of the new interstellar partnership. The Arcosian leader, Supreme Nest Guardian Varex, spread his magnificent wings in the traditional greeting of his people. "Commander Shaw, how can we possibly express our gratitude? Your people came to our aid when no one else would or could. You faced the swarm, the greatest terror our galaxy has known, and you did not merely drive them back. You opened a dialogue that may one day lead to peace." Shaw bowed respectfully. "We did what we believe any sentient species should do for another. The strong protect those in need, not because it benefits them, but because it is right. This philosophy is unusual among the stars," Varex observed. "Most species we have encountered prioritize their own survival above all else." "Perhaps that's why they fell to the swarm," Shaw suggested. "Isolated civilizations are vulnerable. Together, we are stronger." Varex nodded, his head crest rippling with emotion. "And together we shall be." The Arcosian nest worlds formally offer alliance with Earth and all human colonies. Our technologies, our resources, our knowledge, all shall be shared between our peoples. The chamber erupted in trilling calls of approval from the assembled Arcosian dignitaries. Shaw felt a profound sense of pride, not just in humanity's military achievement, but in what it represented: a fundamental shift in how species interacted among the stars. Later that evening, as Shaw prepared to return to the horizon, she received a transmission from Admiral Reyes. "The negotiations with the swarm are progressing better than anticipated," Reyes reported. "Dr. Chen's team has synthesized the first batch of biochemical compounds they require, and they've agreed to release 3 other worlds they were preparing to harvest." "Do you think it will last?" Shaw asked. Reyes's expression was cautiously optimistic. "It's too early to say for certain. The swarm is a collective mind evolving in real time. But for the first time in their existence, they're considering alternatives to consumption. That's a start. And the Coalition Council, fully behind our efforts now. The success at Arcos Prime has united the colonies like nothing since the Great Unification. We're already receiving requests from 5 other species for formal diplomatic relations. It seems our response to the Arcosian plea has put humanity on the galactic map." As the transmission ended, Shaw moved to the viewport of her quarters, gazing out at the stars. In the distance, she could see the faint outline of an Arcosian orbital station being rebuilt, Earth ships working alongside alien vessels in perfect coordination. Humanity had been called upon to bring its full military might to bear against an overwhelming threat, and had succeeded not just through force of arms, but through innovation, adaptability, and ultimately, compassion. This, Shaw realized, was humanity's true strength, not the ability to win wars, but the wisdom to find alternatives to them, even in the darkest moments. As the Horizon prepared to depart for Earth, carrying the formal alliance documents, Shaw knew that the galaxy had changed forever. The plea that had forced humanity to unleash its military power had led not to endless conflict, but to the beginning of a new era of interstellar cooperation, and perhaps someday, even peace with the swarm.